Facebook, and it interested me, so I started going to the meetings, and now I'm here.
All right, thank you. I'll go on to, let's see. Natika, is that correct? Okay.
Yes. Hi, Solomon. Thanks for having us. We are Arman's parents. Just wanted to feel the bliss of attending this conference. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And let's see, we have someone else joining. Okay, I'll have Theo introduce yourself for anyone here that doesn't know who you are.
Hey, my name is Theo Crouch. I'm a grad student here at UC Merced. Actually the founder of the Q project, but otherwise excellent to see everyone made it out, and yeah, have fun. Wish we could have had an event earlier in the semester, and just so you know, the events relate to your projects flowing from the funding that you spend on fees at the beginning of the year. So hopefully our speakers talk about some of their experience in their projects and leading into the real world. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And let's see, we have one last person on Zoom. So Hubert, if you would like to just introduce yourself and how you found out about the event. You can either talk on mic or through chat. Let's see. Okay, we'll move on to people out here in the crowd. So
thank you for coming out, by the way.
yeah. So I don't know if, since we have the mic up here at the front, I don't know if you'll be able to hear people out in the crowd, but we're gonna talk to the crowd for a second. So, or unless you want to come up and speak.
I'll just speak loudly.
Yeah, I'll just speak loud.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm a first year computer science engineering major, and I found out about this event from my friend here.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, my name is first year engineering.
All right. And
my name is Daniel. Daniel's fine for that. I'm actually a fifth year mechanical engineer.
all right.
And I'm Alex.
Okay, thank you. So now that we're good, or let me introduce myself now since I haven't yet. My name's Solomon, and I'm a fourth year computer science major here at the UC, and I'm currently leading Q project and bringing in members for this upcoming semester. And so with that, we're gonna get into our guest speakers. So the way this will work is I'm gonna have them up here on the camera, and we'll ask all three a question, and then each of them can answer the question. And then we're going to move on to the next question. During this time, keep your microphones off. If you have any questions, ask them in the chat. And then after we go through all our questions that we have, we'll have some time for Q&A, and you'll be able to turn your microphone on if you're on Zoom to be able to ask questions to the speakers. So let's see. I have you all three come up here now.
You can just do it one by one. Like
Yeah. So let me get my questions going. Okay, so the first question is going to be we're going to ask all three of them to just talk a little about themselves, where they grew up. So start with Arman.
Hi, my name's Arman. I grew up in the Central Valley. I grew up in Tracy, and I don't know if you guys know about Tracy, but it's only like an hour away from Merced. And so I went to high school there. I went to elementary, middle school, high school there. And then I went to college, obviously here at UC Merced. So most of my life I've been in UC Merced or in the Central Valley. And then when I graduated, currently because of the COVID situation, I'm currently stuck at home and thus still at Central Valley. But soon I'll be moving to Seattle, Washington.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ramiro Gonzalez. I'm from Merced. I'm a Merced native. I went to Golden Valley High School, and then I went to middle school here as well. So I've been in Merced my whole life, pretty much. I graduated in 2020 in computer science and engineering. I also did a political science minor, and I was part of the Q project as a treasurer, where I brought in a lot of funding for student projects, and I also worked on different types of projects, and like, yeah.
Hello, I'm Jesus, and I've been living in Merced for the past 15 years or so, but originally I'm from Los Angeles. My family moved down here, and I've been here since middle school. So I went to middle school here and high school, and of course UC Merced. I'm an alumni. I graduated in 2019, and I'm working here as a staff now, but we'll get into that.
Okay. All right. So next question is going to be a few questions in one. So what's your major, if you haven't said it already? Why did you decide to come to UC Merced? And how was your experience here at the UC? So we'll start with Armand again.
I guess I'm the only one who didn't tell him my major. So my major at UC Merced was computer science and engineering, and my minor was management, analytics, and decision making. The second question was,
what made you decide
Oh.
to come to Merced?
I decided to come to UC Merced because of the high faculty to student ratio. Everyone here is nice. Plus, as I said before, Central Valley is kind of my home. So I'm really close to home. I can just drive super quick if I need anything. And so this was pretty homey feel that I got from UC Merced. Yeah. And then the last question was, my experiences in UC Merced. Well, I cannot give you all my experiences at UC Merced. There's just too much, and that's because of Q Project. But if I had to sum it up, I would say it's great. It's very informative and a great learning place to grow as well as make mistakes. The more mistakes you make, especially in college, you'll be able to grow from these and not suffer as many consequences as if you made these mistakes outside of college. So definitely take advantage of that.
First question was what was your major? What made you decide to come to Merced, and then your experience?
Hello, everyone. So my major is computer science. I decided to come to Merced because I'm from Merced, and I pretty much live not too far away. I live in South Merced, and it's really cheap to live here as opposed to going somewhere else. And I also know the town. I also when I was part of the Q project, I was able to network with local businesses. I was also able to talk to students in Yosemite High School, and I was able to work on projects that relate to Merced and my community, because a lot of people know me, so they were always willing to hear me out when I was working on a project, and they would volunteer, and that made my projects really successful. And as opposed to going somewhere else, I would have to learn the environment there, learn about the people, and it takes a lot of effort to know people, as opposed to being here already. People just know you, and so that's the biggest advantage for me while I was in Merced. What was the other question?
Experiences, if you haven't mentioned it already.
So my experience with the Q project was that there's a lot to do, and then there's a lot of resources that we don't even know about. Like if you're a first year student at UC Merced and you're not part of a student organization, then you cannot even imagine all the stuff you're missing out, because there's a lot of funding here that belongs to you. And if you're not working on projects, that means all that money is not going to you, to your projects, and to building your resume, which is one of our goals, you know, to eventually get a job. We want to have experience, and to get that experience, you need to have resources like hardware. I know if I didn't go to college, then I wouldn't have access to 3D printers or resources like hosting events. I was able to host events about my projects and tell the community that what I was working on, and that built my resume and people knew me. And so when I got to the Amazon interview, I was able to talk to them about the stuff that I've done and how many people I impacted, because, you know, you got to use the STAR method. The result is, I was able to talk about the results, and you could quantify those results when you have funding and you have resources and you have like numbers. Amazon loves numbers. So try to get those numbers somehow.
All right, thank you. If you need a refresher on the questions, I can say. It was major, or what your major was, how you decided to come here, and then your experiences while here.
Okay. So I was mechanical engineering, and I decided to come here. Like I said, I'm local, so as a high school, I think we took in part of the summer school program that I went to, they brought us here, and it was probably half the size it is now, but it was still good to see. It was the first university I visited, so that was good to see. And then you got all the new flashy buildings, and so that kind of got me. But I think the biggest reason why I came here was it's a small university. It has grown, but it's still small. 10,000 students, compared that to other CSUs and UCs, they have dozens of thousands of students or more. So with that, with it being a small school, as it grows, you could grow with it. So that's one of the reasons. And my experiences here, yeah, I was involved in a Q project, just like pretty much almost everyone here. But I was also a student worker for the School of Engineering as in the school engineering labs. So that was a good experience, and that actually helped my my knowledge, so that when I'm working with the Q projects, I had more stuff at my disposal that I could just that I could do and support other projects or other members in the club. And I did a bit of research here also as an undergrad with drones under Dr. Chen. So that was a good eye opener. But I think I'm good. Yeah.
All right. All right, thank you. So, yeah, all three of you kind of already shared a little bit about the Q project. So, first off, before I go into Q project questions on their own, I'll explain a little bit about what Q project is for all you out here that don't know. So, Q project, we've been around since 2014, and we focus on student-led projects. This semester, it's mostly drones with 3D printing. In the past, we've done cybersecurity, robotics, almost any project you can think of. And the goal is that as you're developing your project, the club is here to help you get funding and get assistance in doing what you want to do, things that are helping you build your resume and get professional skills. So that's the main point of Q project. And with that, I wanted to ask, I think some of you already kind of said why you joined Q project, but the next few questions are, how did you find out about Q project, and maybe elaborate more on your experience in the Q project, what projects you worked on and what you did with those projects. So we'll start with Armand again.
So, my first year here, I didn't know what to do. I went to ACM, I went to all these other computer science clubs, and I tried like new things, but nothing really stuck. Like these clubs weren't making me push myself into projects, into stuff that I can actually put on my resume. Until one day, I think it was Bobcat Day of my second year here, I met Theo. He was at the stand, or he had a booth of just Q Project and Tech Equation, which is the partner with Q Project. And so he was just talking about like cybersecurity in general, and me being personally interested in cybersecurity, that kind of intrigued me. And then from there, we kind of just grew from there. I took on more and more projects from Q Project. I don't think I can probably list off all the projects I did with Q, but like some good ones that I usually mention are that we did lots of community work. We went out to the Merced community, and we actually had stuff like Day in Technologies, where we had different booths, setups, different workshops, such as drones, 3D printing, cyber, and we helped underprivileged students come by, and we would just teach them about this stuff. Where in Merced, there's a very low population of students who actually go from a non-tech family to like a tech job. And so we wanted to bring tech to UC Merced, to the Merced community. Some other ones that I like to mention is that we did a virtual academy when COVID hit. All the clubs were down, but not us. We were here. We went virtually. We hosted virtual academies for high school students all around the Central Valley. We did cybersecurity. We did 3D printing, I think so. Oh, robotics, and we did something called LoRa, LoRa networks. And so we definitely, those projects, although they were fun and they were good for the community, they did actually help me get a job at Amazon, because all these projects that I did with Q Project, I used every single one of them at my Amazon interview. And it was quite a lot. So that's it. I guess I'm gonna give the mic to Ramiro now.
So it was, how did you find out about Q Project, and what projects did you work on, experiences in the Q Project itself?
So I joined the Q Project on my third year. And so I was looking through the list of all the student organizations here. And I read about the Q Project, and it was kind of hard to understand like what it was about. I read the description, and there were Q Project stands for quantitative. And they were talking about big data. So I was interested in learning more. So I reached out to Theo through email, and we set up a meeting, and then we discussed the stuff that I'm interested in. I was interested in battery technology back then. And so something you have to know about battery technology, it's pretty expensive to get the batteries. Batteries are like $12 each. So by myself, just reading books and learning about circuit theory and like learning about batteries is just not enough. It's just like you're learning terminology, but it's pretty useless. So I wanted to get hands-on experience, and that's where the Q Project came in. My first project was creating battery packs from 1865 cells. Those are like the ones Tesla uses. And so I spearheaded that project. So it gave me a lot of experience on how to run a project. And I also learned about the difficulties of running a project. For example, a lot of people were interested. I would get people interested in the project, but then a lot of different things would happen. People weren't able to show up, or people got really busy throughout the semester. So they gave me a lot of experience of how to manage a project, how to document my work, so that next semester I had something to show for. Because the first time I started working with the Q Project, my first semester was pretty much a failure, because I wasn't documenting my work properly. So the next semester I had to start all over, recruiting different people. Some people stuck around, but the people that left, they took the knowledge with them. So we had to start all over again. And so I started documenting my work and started growing my project from there. I also got funding. So that was a number. It was like $3,000 that I got for battery packs. And we hosted an event where we built a bunch of battery packs. And yeah, that's my experience with the Q project.
And the question was, how did you find out about the Q project and your experience in your projects within it?
Okay, so I think I found out through a friend, maybe my second year, and they talked about how it was project based, and I just heard good things. So I show up to a meeting, and to be honest, my first maybe semester or two where I was kind of just showing up to meetings and not doing much. It wasn't until later that I kind of picked up the pace. And the Q project is one of those things. Well, pretty much anything in life is the more you put in, the more you get out. Like you said, Armand and Ramiro, they did a lot, and they have a lot to show for it, and that's doing good stuff for them. So like I said, I had some experience with the 3D printing because I had worked at the School of Engineering, so I helped them with supporting projects, I guess, with the hardware, whether it's printing or design. Then another one that I helped out was the workshops that Armand was talking about with the Arduino. That one we had like pretty much step-by-step lessons, and we had the hardware for them, for the students, so then they were able to follow along. So it's kind of it's good to do stuff yourself, but it's also good to teach others. Like they have already graduated, I graduated, but I'm still at the UC, so I stay involved to some capacity. Solomon's about to graduate, so we need pretty much people to step up. I think one of the most recent things I did was drones. I was able to put together a race drone and fly it. And then we were holding workshops on how to build that and 3D print the model. Our model was 3D printed, and it might be for the next few iterations, and unless something goes wrong. But so far we have a few drones that we have, and one of them recently broke, but we had to troubleshoot that. But yeah, the race drones, and now I'm doing just regular drones. I don't know what you would refer to them, just non-racing drones, where it's like the ones that are easy to fly. And with that one is kind of more like a photography kind of thing out in the community. And I also help with securing some of the funding. So if you guys are interested, we can help you write the proposal for the project and pull funding for whatever you need.
All right, thank you. So I can see there's a few questions in the chat, so let me look at those real quick, see if any of them are for the speakers here. Okay. All right, so the next question is going to be related to your job. So the first question is, where do you work now? Then on top of that, how was the interview? How was the job process in getting that job? And how is your job going now currently? So I'll start with Armand again.
So as you can probably guess from my jacket, I work at Amazon Information Security on the Amazon side, not the AWS side. And so I got this job because I got an interview somehow, and I was able to use all my Q project experiences to answer all the interview questions, because I had those experiences. One project I didn't mention was my cybersecurity workshop series. I know, like you probably hear, it's just a workshop series. You're just hosting just cyber workshops, cyber skills like every week or something. But a lot actually went into this project. One, I had to like secure funding. Two, I had to secure rooms. Three, I had to deal with the whole COVID debacle and all of that stuff. From there, even from just one project, I was able to like collect multiple different experiences, which I could use during the Amazon interview. And so I graduated from college last May, so May of 2021, and I went into my job in mid-June of 2021. And since then, it's been about like five months. I really love my job. The culture at Amazon is very high. Like the bar they set is really high, and it's not something you can just like go 9 to 5 and get off and stuff. It's a job where you have to put your effort in, and it's actually something you can do something what you want to do, and you can definitely move around in Amazon, and it's pretty amazing at what the innovation there is. And of course, I can't give specific details, but it's definitely a place I was happy to work with after graduation from UC Merced. Thank you.
Do you need the questions again?
Yeah.
Okay, so where are you working now? How was the job on like interview process? And then how do you enjoy your job now? Where are you at currently?
Hello, everyone. So I work for Amazon Games. Amazon Games used to be part of AWS, Amazon Web Services, but Amazon acquired MGM. Have you guys heard of MGM Hollywood? And so they bundled us together with Global Entertainment. So we're now like a new organization. And so we're also growing. I don't know if you guys heard of New World. So I'm working on New World, the MMORPG. I do systems quality. So the game, working in the video game industry, it's pretty rough. Like there's always something going on. It's always challenging. And that's why I believe the Q project prepared me for that. Because when you come to the Q project, it's not like other organizations where you go and you sit up on meetings and then you wait for someone to give you a project to work on. That's not the Q project. The Q project, you have to take leadership. You have to take lead of a project. And if you don't, then you may be wasting your time because you're sitting around in a meeting. It's not really good for your developing your professional skills. And also during the interview, they ask you a lot of questions about, tell me about a time when you failed. Tell me about a time when you, I don't know, kinds of questions like that, you know? And while I was part of the Q project, I failed many times and I was able to tell them, and I was able to quantify like the results. Amazon loves results. So what was the other?
You talk about interview process.
Oh.
And then
So the interview process is, for me, I had the phone screen. I talked to an engineer, and then so that engineer asked me some technical questions and then non-technical questions. So something you have to understand, that technical questions are important, but the most important thing about an interview are the non-technical questions, the leadership principles, the soft skills. That's something that's really hard to gain because you can always be taught. Like when you get into whatever job, whatever tech job you get, you're gonna learn the stack. You know, you're gonna learn the technologies that you use. Like a lot of the technologies that I'm using right now at Amazon Games, they don't apply much to other organizations because I'm building an MMORPG, and then so like I work on the server stability, server performance, and those tools. Some of those tools were built in Amazon, and a lot of so that's why people are always raising the bar. Is that they're always creating tools. They're always like everybody's watching, you know, at Amazon Games. You probably heard them in the news all the time. Anytime they make a mistake, it's pretty like everybody knows about it. and it's not like a small organization, like where if you make a mistake, then people will criticize you, you know, they'll be like, hey, Amazon's a multi-trillion-dollar company. But the thing is, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It's like building games, technology, it's hard, it's difficult, you know? And that's why before you graduate, the best thing you should do is work on projects, challenging projects, challenge yourself, make mistakes, so that once you are done, once you're out of here, you're able to solve all the problems, and you're able to adapt and not like fall under pressure, because like it's pretty tough. Like I read the news all the time, and so I feel like, oh, I should have done better, like all the time, you know. So I'm always trying to improve, and that's why I'm out here trying to improve my skills as well. Like this right here, I'm working on my public speaking. You know, I'm also still working, trying to teach people about the stuff that I do as well, because that helps me understand what path I want to take. Like me, my path, I want to go towards the specialized in security, because I noticed we had some security issues within Amazon Games. So yeah.
Thank you. Questions were, what's your job now? How was the interview, and what do you like? How do you enjoy it currently?
Right. So like I said, I work here at the UC as a lab coordinator for scuba engineering. And like I said, I graduated in 2019. So this wasn't my first job. My first job was at a local company. They're called Milano Technical Group, and they work with technology and agriculture. But pretty much because of the experiences that I was able to get while still in school, like within the Q project, the week after my graduation, I was already working. So I already had a job lined up. So I worked there for a while. But pretty much all the stuff from the Q project, I was kind of doing similar stuff in that company. So it helped me a lot. But as far as this job, we still use some of the stuff. So for those ME people, if you've taken fluids or you will take fluids, at one point you're going to do some labs, and there's some stuff that we do in the background, like with Raspberry Pis to gather the data that you need for the lab. So once again, we have worked with Raspberry Pis in a Q project in multiple ways. The LoRa network, just some simple data logging, temperature and stuff. But yeah, so pretty much you could, like Ramiro was saying, like the stuff you learn here, it could be directly applicable. And one of the things I want to build upon that he said is you have to continue improving. Technology is always improving. So if you think you're staying at the same level, you're actually going down, because technology is improving that fast. So you have to try to keep up with technology. Otherwise, you're going to be using outdated stuff, right? Python 3 is the current one. Python 2 got decommissioned, I think like last year or 2 years ago. But some people still use it because of some functionalities. But yeah, next thing you know, we're gonna have Python 4 in, I don't know, a few years. But yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. So last and final question before we open it up to the audience is, what's one piece of advice that you want to give to the people listening? And do you have any regrets about your time at the UC? So we'll start with Armand again.
So I'm gonna answer the second question first. Definitely no regrets. Of course, I made mistakes at UC Merced, but this is a learning place. It's a safe learning environment. Definitely make mistakes here, so that you don't make them outside. And the first question,
Oh, let me look it up. I already forgot it. Advice.
oh, advice.
One piece of advice.
One piece of advice is definitely in my first year, I didn't do much, and there's like nothing I could talk about during my first year, except when I joined Q Project in my second year, I picked up all these projects. I got all these new experiences. So I guess my advice to you is don't sit at home, actually go out and do some projects, interact with people, and try to make whatever your projects do have high impact to maybe people surrounding you or the entire world, or just maybe your local community. So that's it. Thank you.
One piece of advice, and do you have any regrets about your time at the UC?
So one of my advice is to work on projects, and something you're gonna notice is a lot of your projects are gonna fail. Like most of the time, it's just people get busy, you get busy as well, and so like towards the middle of your project, you're gonna notice that you're not making much progress, but that's okay. You just gotta show up. Like during the interview, they're gonna ask you about the stuff you've done before, and having failures, having failed many times, like I was able to talk about like what I learned from those. You know, I was able to talk to them about, oh, you know, I was working in a team, and so my teammates, they started getting busy with work, started getting busy with the semester. So I had to pick up more, like as the leader, I had to pick up more of the tasks. And so I noticed that my first semester I failed with that project. So what I did the next semester, I changed everything. I made sure everything was documented so that if anybody was to leave, it wouldn't matter, you know? Like, and that's something that is real in industry. Like there's a lot of attrition anywhere you go. People get different jobs, people leave. So one of the biggest things that I learned while on the Q project is documenting my work, and also managing a team. Managing a team is pretty hard because people have different priorities, you know? So you have to understand how to make a project successful. And sometimes success is not, it's not really what you expected. For example, one of my projects, the battery technology project, my ultimate goal was to build like a battery powered car, you know, convert a gasoline car to an electric vehicle car. And that's something I worked on for like a whole year. Like I talked to Theo about it, and we even had a car that they were donating to us that we were gonna convert it to electric, you know. But that was difficult because the price was like $30,000 to convert that car. So we had to raise that money, but just doing the math, it just wouldn't work out, especially if I only had like a few years left at UC Merced, so it wouldn't be enough. So what I did is I shifted my priorities and started to concentrate on building the best battery packs. I mean, the most efficient battery packs instead of like the electric vehicle car. The electrical vehicle car was on my mindset. That was my goal, but ultimately I didn't accomplish that goal, but I did accomplish something. And that's something I was able to talk about during the interview. So my advice is just keep trying, and your projects are gonna fail, but you just gotta keep trying. Like that's the only way. And yeah, it depends how you define success. But just keep trying, I guess. That's my advice. Something I regret about not doing at UC Merced was more like preparing for interviews. Like interviewing is pretty hard, even like public speaking, even me talking to you right now, it's kind of difficult. But you got to get yourself out there. Like when you're part of a team, you're able to talk to a group and you're more comfortable with them, and you're able to develop your communication skills. And that's something you have to work on. So that's something I regret not working on as much, was my interview skills and public speaking as well.
So one piece of advice, and then any regrets.
All right, I'll start with the regret first. So one of the things I regret, and I really think you guys should keep this in mind. Don't just show up to class and do the minimum effort. You're gonna get like a C, or maybe, you know, try to get
Waiting room.
B's or even A's. Strive for the A. That way, in case you miss it, you still get the B, or, you know, because the last thing you want to do is miss out on a job because you don't have the GPA requirement. So that's my regret. Some classes I was not taking seriously, and then I graduated, and oh man, should have paid attention. But so let me move on to the advice. So okay, so there's you have to make yourself stand out. Just in Merced, I'm going to use Emmy as an example. Each semester, I think, or at least, yeah. So each year there's about 300, 400 new students of Emmy admitted, whether it's transfer students or freshmen. So that means when you graduate, if you're Emmy, and CSE is even higher, you're probably looking at 400, 500. So when you're graduating, you're competing against that many people. And that's just here in UC Merced. Like the jobs at Amazon, I'm pretty sure you compete against people from all over the state, maybe even different states, right?
The world.
Yeah, pretty much. You have people doing the remote jobs now. So yeah, you could be competing against someone in China or Ecuador, or, you know, other countries. So yeah, try to use this time as a student. Fail if you have to, that's okay. You're a student, nothing's gonna happen. You're not gonna lose a job because you don't have it. It's not a job, right? It's a club, or however you're involved. But yeah, go out there and learn stuff, because you have to stand out.
All right, thank you. That concludes our list of questions. So now we're going to open it up to the crowd to ask any questions. So I'll start with the ones that are here in Zoom. The first question was from Theo, and he's asking, are these 20-year jobs? So whoever wants to answer out of you three can come up and answer that. Yeah, it was just, are the jobs you're in right now like basically a career job, like your whole life, 20 years?
Okay, I think that's the question. So my job at Amazon is definitely not a 20-year job. I'm currently a support engineer 3, but I plan on moving on more into the higher security side, probably a security engineer. And my role at Amazon is definitely not a 20-year job, but it's a job that allows me to grow my skills as well as grow my soft skills, grow my hard skills, and move to another role at Amazon or to another other company with higher pay, higher salary, and higher ability or higher capability to actually do more and more stuff what I want to do. So I hope that answers the question.
Excellent.
So I don't think this is a 20-year job. So Amazon, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's like Project Cooper. There's also physical stores. Amazon's building physical stores. They're working on like Lab 126 is working on hardware, different kinds of hardware. So as a person in tech, I love that kind of stuff. So I'm always reading about what Amazon is working on. And also, like I talk to my teammates. I have like inside we have an internal chat. So I'm able to network with people within Amazon. I'm able to talk to engineers. I'm able to talk to managers. Like pretty much everyone's open. So if you have any questions within Amazon, it doesn't matter who you are. Like they'll answer your question if they have the time. You can also set up meetings with them. Like I set up meetings with people from Lab 126 and to learn more about what they do. And the reason I do this is because like I'm interested in tech, all the stuff that's going on. So they're working on like cutting edge stuff. And so within Amazon Games is relatively new. Like, I mean, it's like 10 years old, but like relatively new, like starting up. There's a lot of growth there. There's a lot of things that are missing still. For example, like security. Right now we rely on Arman for our security. So for security engineers, they're part of information security. So they're the ones who secure the MMORPG that we're working on. And so the reason I was hired was because of my cybersecurity projects, my cybersecurity interests, amongst other things. And the reason I was hired for that role was because my manager wants to grow security, so we're able to do more in-house security. And so my manager, he's from Blizzard, and he started a team, a red team there. So that's something he wants to do at Amazon. And so working at Amazon is awesome because like you're working with people who are like the industry leaders. Like if you're like working on a tool or you're using a tool, the people who created it is probably like the people you're working with, which is pretty awesome. So everyone's always raising the bar, and you always want to do better. You always want to do more, and that's how I feel. And that's why I'm always growing. I'm always developing my skills. So I believe Amazon is going to give me the experience I need to eventually go on to different things. I still don't know what it is, but I know it's going to be security. Just become the best at security, and that's my goal.
Did you want to answer the question?
My response is simple. Yes, it could be a 20-year job. If I choose it to be, yeah. But going to my previous job, you can use jobs as a stepping stone, like they're talking about. Just because, so whatever job you take, hopefully you get the one you want. But if you don't, then you could always use that as a stepping stone to once again learn stuff to hopefully prepare you for the position that you actually want, right?
All right, thank you. So we're going to move on to the next question I saw in the chat here.
But you want to take a question from the audience?
Yeah, if you all have questions, feel free. If not, think of a question and we'll
We can
have
alternate.
you ask them after. Okay, so the next question here on Zoom was also from Theo, and it was, do you know if you are a diversity hire? So we'll start with Arman.
That's kind of a difficult question to answer. I definitely didn't ask my manager that, or I'm not in my manager's mind. At Amazon, it's very, very, very diverse. So for me to be considered a diversity hire, that wouldn't make much of an impact in terms of PR or anything else. So I don't believe I was a diversity hire. So thanks.
So the cool thing about Amazon is that you're not when you go to the interviews, you're not really competing against other people, like as you would think in other companies. You're like, they try to get like the best candidate. The thing about Amazon is the person that clears the interview first, the person that raises the bar. To raise the bar means you have to be 50% better than people currently in that role. So so that's the difference between Amazon and other organizations. So if you're, I don't believe I'm a diversity hire because I asked my manager, not directly, but he explained to me why I was hired. And the primary reason was because of my security skills. Also, a lot of the projects that I had worked on, and then my interest in, I told them a story about when I was a kid, what got me interested into security. For example, I knew that Facebook wasn't created with security mindset. When I was a kid, I used to play around, you know, like a lot of the hackers, the best hackers, they come from gaming background, but I didn't. So my background was uh, exploiting web applications like Facebook. So I remember when I was a kid, I found a bug on Amazon, I mean, on Facebook, where you could add people to a chat, and I coordinated this chat. I asked my other friends to add people to that chat, and eventually that chat grew to 1,000 people. And before, Facebook wasn't very intuitive, so people weren't able to exit out of the chat. So, and also by default, the notification would turn on. So anytime someone replied, their phone would blow up, like literally blow up, and you couldn't stop it because Facebook didn't think about the security implications of having those configurations that way. That the default settings is notifications are always on, so people were getting annoyed, and I found that pretty fun. And that's something that I noticed in video gaming. A lot of young kids, they have all the time in the world. You know, they're trying to break the code. And so my job is to make sure that nobody does something weird. And then as you heard, like we end up in the news, like somebody finds a duplication, someone does some code injection, like people, it affects millions of people because millions of people play the game. Also, when I'm doing my job, I need to be very mindful. And also my manager, the people that hired me, like they know I can do the job. So I wouldn't say I'm a diversity hire, because like if they were to hire like someone who's not, well, someone who doesn't have the skills, then millions of people would be affected, and that would hurt the entire organization. Amazon Games is a relatively small organization. We have like 300 employees. I believe we're growing, but like 300 is not that much. And so everybody has an impact on the entire organization. You know, like if I were to make a mistake, people would be affected. I know, like I was testing the queue services, right? If people aren't able to get into the game, millions of people lose out, and just a lot of mayhem would happen if I don't do my job correctly. So I was hired for my skills and also my security interests.
So this is a difficult question. I don't think, if you probably asked your interviewers, I don't know if they would be able to tell you the truth. Well, I mean, I don't think, so I think there's some law out there that protects you from some sort of that. But then again, some companies will go out and say, oh, we're going to hire more people from minority backgrounds. And with that comes, you kind of have to. But as far as I know, no, I'm not diversity, but something to keep in mind.
Thank you. So, let's see, do we have any questions out in the crowd yet? Yeah. Okay, yeah, so the question, the question was how our description for our club on our website is related to data science. And the question was, how does this relate to data science? So did any of you want to answer that, or?
So I have a.
You have to come over here if you want to answer it. Okay.
I believe Theo has a better answer, but like from what I know is Q Project started as like big data science. So Q Project used to have like a cluster, and they even had a supercomputer from what's it called?
Castle. It was at a
Castle. Yeah. So they would use that cluster to work on big data projects. And that eventually shifted to other things because, you know, people who would come into the Q project would work on other projects, and then that diversified into different types of projects. And then big data it's not like a project itself. Is big data is different kinds of things, like I could say I'm big data because I collect in my job I collect a lot of data. So big data is very diverse on the kinds of stuff you can do. That's what I believe, why the description has changed to now.
I can add to that. Generally, each one of these roles up here, there's a lot of data involved. And even as, can everyone hear me? Anyway, the idea is that as we continue to move forward, the idea is that we want you to understand where the data is in your job. Because in the end, if you understand the data, which is where everything is going, especially with AI, machine learning, AI, if you understand the data that you're pulling in to your job, you will be indispensable. They cannot remove you from the company because you have this personal idea about data. I came to UC Merced, and this is back when big data was huge. Everyone knew about big data, but no one knew the direction of big data. Now there are very specific things happening with big data, like online gaming and stuff like that. But generally speaking, that is still more or less the focus because each project produces data. Now the question is, what do you do with that data? The challenge with when we had the supercomputer that we're trying to pull to the UC, the problem was that when we're trying to learn, when I was teaching Python to parse through big data, and it was all biology data, the laptops couldn't handle the data sizes. And that's when a lot of projects move toward more personable projects that you can do, like all you just need to do is code some script and get an Arduino or do some robotics. Everything started moving toward the things that can produce data. But in the end, the aim is still the data part. So let's say projects spin up and they become successful. Our next step will be to pull data from that project. But we're not so much worried about you being successful in the project. We're just getting you to the idea that that Ramiro kept talking about, is that push your project, get things up and running, show up. And because of that, what ends up happening is that you get this experience, like Armand was talking about, you get this experience that Jesus is talking about at his first job in relation to the idea that, wait, a lot of things I'm doing here fits what I'm doing in my job. So hopefully that helps answer your question. And I think Armand had a couple things to add.
Go ahead.
You good?
Yeah, you can talk.
Oh.
We're trying to get.
All right, so definitely when I started out in my second year, we did have like a cluster. We did have like an artificial intelligence project. We had some people on it. Artificial intelligence was actually one of the workshops we did for our first day in tech. That's right, we did multiple. So from this, of course, what Theo said, what Theo and Ramiro said, it actually branched out to multiple ones. But of course, just because our description says something doesn't mean that we are not doing that. Like how Solomon explained what Q Project was before, it's a special club. It's not a club where just where it says on the description, that's exactly what we do. That's not what we are. What we are is a place for innovation. What we are is a place where you can come in with their own projects and grow from here. With our funding, we help you write a proposal to the UC Merced student population, and we help you go through all those experiences with the project that you're passionate about, not a project that some national organization put on your specific club. That's what's special about Q Project. So it doesn't matter what project you have. We actually had some people come in with different non-tech projects. I think we had one person a couple of years ago. She was a political science major. And so she started this thing called SAS, Students Advocating for Students. Basically, their job was to help us get the funding we need, as well as support students like you, like what we're doing right now, to get jobs, to graduate graduate college, and get a tech job. Not a farmer job, but like a job in which you're able to produce innovation, as well as produce mass impact, as well as keep you happy. And that's it.
Did anyone else want to answer the question, or are we good? Okay, good. Okay, thank you. So let's see. Yeah, go for it.
When it comes to like writing up a proposal, project funded, and going through that process, what does that process look like? How successful? Like, what's your ratio of success? And like, basically, how many times do they say yes? How many times do they say no? What is their reason?
Okay, good question. So I'll repeat the question for all of you on Zoom. So the question was, tell me if I get it correct. So how was the process for creating projects, the proposals, writing them, getting them approved, and how successful were those proposals? Right. Anything else? Or okay.
I think I'll take this
Yeah,
question.
go for it.
Before I came into Q Project, we had Ramiro. Ramiro was the treasurer of Q Project and basically led most of what Q Project is right now. And he went through, or he didn't have a mentor like I did. He had to understand the whole politics that goes around at UC Merced, and he had to navigate through all of that. And hats off to him, because he actually got a lot of funding. I think his number was around like 20,000. Is that right?
More than that.
Yeah, 30. Yeah. And then near the end of my second year and my third year, I was a treasurer. And so during my time, I had the opportunity to learn from him, his mistakes and his guidance on the whole politics and how these projects can actually come to fruition with actual good funding from UC Merced. And I think I brought in a lot, around the same amount as Ramiro.
That was over 7,000 last semester.
And there's just 7,000. And then the previous semester was like 20,000 because of the 3D printing. I got drones, academies. There's a CCNA lab, which we set up for UC Merced students only. So that was definitely like around 35,000 at least. And so what I'm trying to say to you is that you shouldn't worry about that. That's for leadership. That's for treasurer of the Q Project. That does not mean that you can sit back and relax, but what this means is that you have an idea, right? You start with an idea, and then you come up with some sort of proof of concept. This helps you to know that whether you're actually interested in this job, in this project, before you actually get funding. So with this POC, what you do is you come to us, we help you write some simple proposal, and we go to the student organization. They usually have like weekly meetings, or if I remember, I'm sure it's like monthly now or something like that. And so you are actually the owner of the project. You have to take ownership. We're not going to go up there and fight for you. We'll definitely support you, but we're not going to take lead on your project. For the sole reason that you're the owner, you know what's happening with your own project. So what you do, you take the POC, you take your proposal, and you give it to them. You say, okay, this is my proof of concept. It works. Now I need funding to build this. And then now you have to give your reasoning on the impact of this. Usually most of our projects, the reason they were funded pretty quickly and our success rate was pretty high was because we directly impacted students here at UC Merced. All of our projects were for UC Merced students. The Day in Technologies downtown, we had virtual academies that actually helped bring other students in to help teach the high school students. We also, like recently, we just had the 3D printing, as well as the CCNA lab. Those were directly for the students. And one thing about the 3D printing I should mention is that UC Merced has a tech lab, right? That's where Jesus works. They do have 3D printers, but guess what? We can't use them. We have to go through lots of hoops. Of course, I mean, we understand there's like safety rules and stuff and a bunch of bureaucracy. But what we want to do is bring that 3D printer to you so that you guys can actually use it hands-on. Because I didn't want to go through this entire process just to learn about what a 3D printer is and how I can use it. Now with the project of what we did with 3D printers, any student can come to us, take 30 minutes, print like some small like item from the 3D printer from start to finish, from designing the model, putting it into the 3D printer, and they're able to put that skill on their resume right there. That's 30 minutes. And that sort of impact definitely resonated with some of the Senate of the student leadership, and that's how we were able to grow our success. So definitely when you're looking for funding for your own projects, look at your project and see what is the impact, as well as what kind of new innovation it is. If you're just repeating what Facebook's doing, sure, that's fine. That's good for learning, but you should try to take something that's out there and innovate with it, change it up, make it so that it'll help lots of people, as well as provide you a learning opportunity and a path for you to go forward and pick up some experiences, such as sharing your project with the crowd, that's public speaking, going to the students' leadership, that's fighting for your own projects. There's failures as well, you can learn from there. And just definitely networking to understand how your project fits in with other people's projects at Q Project. Because Q Project is a bunch of people with a bunch of projects all fitting together to come together. For example, drones, right? So when Jesus was doing his drones, I was doing cyber. So definitely, as when you probably think of drones, you probably don't think of cyber security. And when you think of cybersecurity, you definitely don't think of drones. But at the Q Project, we were able to bring that together. And perhaps maybe if you had more time, we could definitely look into maybe attacking drones with cybersecurity, or maybe the other side, defensive side, securing drones with cybersecurity. So whatever project you bring through to Q Project, definitely, it will definitely connect with everyone else here. And that's the kind of web of projects that we want to form and provide you that interaction, as well as experiences that you can use to go and get a tech job at Amazon, Microsoft, the whole like FANG alphabet, and use these experiences for the rest of your life and in interviews. All right. I think Ramiro has something to say.
So there's different sources of funding as well. There's the School of Engineering, there's ICC, ASUCM, and there's I don't believe that exists anymore. But so the job of the treasurer is to find you funding. And like for me, when I was a treasurer, I would look anywhere. I would go local businesses if I have to. My job is to get you funding. Your job is to work on your project. So you would give me a brief, like keep me updated about your project. And then I will try to figure out where to get the funding from. If it's gonna be from ASUCM, I have to make it so that your project applies to everyone at UC Merced, because that money belongs to everyone. So if you were to come to me with a project about, I don't know, drones, I would try to figure out a way to make it about everyone. So the way I would do it is create an event that's open to everyone, non-tech, people doing computer science, mechanical engineer, it doesn't matter. Also, when I did Kids Day in Technology, that was open to the Merced community. For the very first time, we opened the downtown center to people of Merced. And so when I went and talked about my proposal, I talked to them about who that project was going to impact and who was going to affect. And that was going to affect the image of UC Merced. It was because it would connect the Merced community with UC Merced. Because as you know, Merced and UC Merced are completely separate. Like we're like our own town.
Geographically separate too.
Yeah, it's completely different. I was raised in Merced. I was raised in south of Merced. And so I didn't even know a university was here until like I was like graduating high school. I didn't even know a university existed here. So a lot of the people from South Merced, they have no idea that a university exists. Like, oh, when they like people don't even know I go to like college or that I graduated in South of Merced. So that's my primarily passion of getting these projects out there was because I wanted to share it with the community, and that benefits UC Merced. So I explained to the Senate, to the ICC, to ASUCM, to whoever I need to talk to, I would explain to them why this project is important, you know, not just to myself, but I also benefit, you know, but it also helps everyone else. UC Merced, they have a good reputation with the Merced community because we did a lot of community work. And yeah, we put in the effort of doing the community work, but out of that, we got hardware and we got funding.
And our reputation with
Yep.
Leadership, student leadership.
Did you want to answer, or do you have anything to say?
No, I think that was
Okay.
pretty good.
Okay, so does anyone in the crowd have any more questions? If not, before the pizza, well, I know there's some here, but Theo was asking if we can get people to start eating pizza before it gets too cold. So you all can get up and go eat pizza, and then we're just going to continue doing the questions through Zoom here. Yeah, go for it. Okay, so the question there was, if you have a project and you got funding, are there any liabilities attached to that project if it fails? Yeah, so Armand's going to answer this.
So there have been other clubs out here who ask for funding and for like different big projects. And guess what happens with those projects? They die, right? Our club, we don't want that. We, everyone here you see up here are very dedicated people. We are dedicated to our projects. And because we're dedicated to our projects, we land up at FANG. I'm at Amazon. He's at Amazon. He's at UC Merced. Yeah, I have one in Apple. We have one in American Express as well. Like Pandora. And he moved to, right? Oh, Pandora. Right, basically big companies, right? You get my drift, right? So we want you to follow through. That's the reason I asked you to get the POC for your project, to see if this is something that's doable, something that you're interested in, something that can have high impact. And then going from there, we get the funding and we push the project forward. But of course, things happen, right? You get busy, just like Ramiro said. But to solve that problem, what you do with that project, you don't let it die off. How you do it, you just freeze it in ice, sort of. Basically, you document all your work up to that point so that other people, when they come in, they don't have to do the whole POC. They don't have to go out, ask for a proposal, because you already have the funding, you already have the hardware, right? We just take the documentation from the person, like for you probably, who made the project or who started the project, and that person just continues and is able to bring it on, like forward there, from there, right? Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Did one of you want to answer?
So there's no liability. So at the end of the day, you got the funding and now it's your job to do what you said you were going to do. You know, like I don't believe UC Merced is going to hold it against you if your project fails. But at the end of the day, like I had some projects that did fail. And at the end of the day, we had hardware. Like we still have hardware. Like you can't eat that. Like it's not gonna go anywhere. And a lot of this hardware is pretty expensive, you know. Like the 3D printers, we did different projects with it. And if you were to do a project on 3D printing and it would fail, then at the end of the day, you secure funding for those 3D printers and someone else can come in and take over and use those 3D printers for different kinds of things. We also did some battery technology stuff. So I have some battery technology hardware that other people can use. And the cool thing about that hardware is you could implement it in different ways. You know, we have Raspberry Pis. Those Raspberry Pis, you could use it for different kinds of things. You could use it for robotics. You could use it for create a cluster and do some machine learning. You could do different kinds of things. At the end of the day, our goal is to get as much resources, so hardware, as we can. You know, that's why we try not to spend any of our money on food. Like a lot of student organizations, they have a lot of pizza parties, a lot of meetings with pizza. Like we have pizza right now because I requested pizza, you know, like I told them like I wasn't gonna come if there's no food. Like
it's very rare our meetings that have pizza because one, we like to use our money for good. We like to use our money to help the community. How we do that is we put all the money into your projects,
Yeah.
right? We don't spend on pizza every single meeting. We don't spend on ice cream every single meeting, stuff like that.
Like one of our projects is esports. You know, we want to get esports here, and that's something I've been trying for years, but it's been pretty difficult. And, you know, you heard of other student organizations, they have their you know, like LAN parties, and a lot of the funding that they get just goes to food. But the Q project, the way I think of it is we got to think bigger. What if we get that funding to get an esport arena here? We can do that. There's enough money here. Like you look at other universities, like University of Irvine, they have an esports. You know where Amazon Games is located at? In Irvine. The reason they located it there was because the video game industry was growing there. And that's why UCI has a esports. Here, we don't have nothing. Like there's not anything. Like, so we want to distinguish ourselves. And the way we got to do it is concentrate all our efforts in getting hardware and getting space. We want to get a tech space. There's different things that we want to do so that we could bring companies to us, not us have to go to them. You know, like,
Conferences.
yeah, like conferences. A lot of people, a lot of student organizations, they spend a lot of effort in getting funding to get a few people to go to conferences out of state or like across the country or like far away. We want to have the conferences here so that we could have Amazon, Google, all the big tech companies come over here and come for us, not the other way around. Like if you look at Stanford compared to UC Merced, it's different. You think people at Stanford have to go other places? No, like big tech companies just go to them and they give them the job. And for us, it's different. Like we got to work for it. We got to pull ourselves out there. But the Q project wants to make it easier. So we want to get big tech companies to come to UC Merced because we're doing stuff. We're doing things, you know, not go across the country to this conference and do projects over there, like for other like national organizations. You know, we're not a national organization. We're Merced born. So we want to create something here so we could get companies here, and they're gonna come looking for us, not us the other way around. Yeah.
Did you want to answer? Wait, I wanted to add something there.
Yeah, go.
UC Merced is still new, right? Just a quick thing. UC Merced is new, and what Ramiro said is we still have to bring other companies here, and Q Project is definitely taking that movement and pushing it forward, right? Every single act that you guys do, every single project, that makes us look much better in the eyes of big tech companies. So if one of you guys do a project that's high impact and actually brings them here for our conferences, that's great. And you're able to do that with the opportunity you have right now. We can definitely provide funding, stuff like that, right? So because this is new, there's so many opportunities for you to grow here at UC Merced. And because it's small, there's not much competition. There's a lot of space for you to grow. So that's all I wanted to add.
Thought this thing was charging. Okay, so since we're getting short on time, we're gonna close questions for people in person. You all can get up and go eat pizza and just keep listening. And we're gonna finish with questions here on Zoom. So the first question was, do you think I'm assuming networking, do you think networking is as important as projects? If so, how would you go about it? And you can also kind of look
Yeah.
at the question.
I'll look at the questions. Thank you, Hubert Lee, for asking that. So his question was, do you think networking is as important as projects? Definitely. I think projects is what gets you. It's an experience you can talk about during networking. I mean, if you go to some random Google recruiter and they're talking about, oh, this is cool. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, awesome. Like Google, the recruiter is just going to be like, they are not going to think of you as someone who stands out. With these projects, however, you're able to actually take your experiences and actually discuss them with the recruiter. So this is kind of a hard question to answer, but definitely projects is something you should definitely go for and get those experiences, those soft skills as well that will help you to network. So let me go for some other questions.
Let me answer that.
You want to answer? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, network is very important. Have you guys heard of Lab 126? It's Amazon Lab 126. So they're a research and development. So they create like Fire TV, Fire phones. They're like the hardware side of Amazon. So I actually referred someone who was part of the Q project. He worked on some of my projects as an undergrad. And so I knew his skills. So the cool thing about being part of a company is that when they have referral programs. A lot of companies have referral programs and everybody benefits. Like I benefited because I got a big bonus out of it. So I don't mind like referring people. But I'm not just gonna refer anybody just random, you know? Like I wanna know their skills. So like networking is important because like when I was working a project with him, I understood his skills. I knew he was gonna clear the interview because I worked with him. Like I knew he wasn't gonna have a problem with clearing that interview. So he was gonna make me look good, you know? So I gave him a referral and he applied and he got the job and I got some big bonus. And so we both benefited. He has a job at Amazon and I have a bonus. It's gone now, but yeah. So the Amazon, you know, they're any company that you want to make their jobs easier. So that's why they do the referral program, because like when I refer someone, I endorse their skills, you know, and I'm only going to do that for people who actually have those skills, you know? So, and how are people going to know that you have those skills? You have to talk to them. You have to tell them. I have to tell you what I do, like for me to build credibility, you know, like when I go to if I were to interview again somewhere else, I would talk to them about my experiences, what I've done before. But networking is more of like an interview, but like a year-long interview, you know, like the person I work with that eventually got the job at Lab 126, which is a pretty world known, world recognized research and development laboratory. He pretty much interviewed. His interview was part of like a year long, because he told me all the stuff that he knew. Like I learned about his skills by working with him, and that's why I ended up endorsing him, and I was happy to do so. And so networking is important, and it can help, because getting a tech job takes a lot. It also takes some luck, but it increases your chances. Your luck increases when people know you. You know, if you're a famous programmer, or you have a crazy project on GitHub, recruiters are gonna reach out to you like crazy, you know. But if you stay hidden and don't tell anybody about your skills, nobody's gonna know and no one's gonna care. Like that's why you got to put yourself out there.
Which question were you answering there? The networking one still? Okay. So we're gonna move on to the question by, I believe I'm gonna just go by Steve since it's in capital letters. So the question was, how do you see your role as a tech leader for solutions that close societal income gaps and growing income disparities in the US? Did you want to take a shot at that, Jesus? I don't, or
Yeah, let's go
I
back.
can see that Theo answered a little bit.
No, he wants some input from you guys because you guys are the new tech leaders coming up, right?
Yeah, okay.
Let's go
Yeah,
back
well,
up to the question so I can look at it.
it's just these two questions right here. And the second question was, what conditions need to change or be created at UC Merced to best support the Q and grow it stronger for more success? So yeah, kind of big questions, but we can kind of answer them if you have any ideas. Maybe I'll think of something as well.
So I think part of my role is as being a staff here at the UC Merced is to directly support you guys. Even though my title is lab coordinator, we're all the staff here are to support you, right? Do reach out, and I'm pretty sure anyone will help you. I definitely, if I can help you, I will try my best to help you. And I think that one was more geared to the Amazon people, the first one. But yeah, but definitely. So
No,
part
you,
of it-
hey, Jesus, let me step in real quick.
Yeah.
No, you can answer it because you are a for lack of a better say, a native to Merced, and Merced is known to have a lot of disparities. And then if we spread that out wider, now the Central Valley also has a lot of disparity. You are an example. Each one of you are an example that shows that people here in the valley are capable. And so when you're capable, there doesn't need to be a transplant to put in these six-figure jobs per se. There doesn't need to be a transplant, someone from outside to pull in. Well, we need to find a data manager. So let's go over to New York and Texas and no, stay here in the valley, pull some of the individuals here. Because just like Ramiro was saying, if there are some rock stars out there and they're not networking, they don't have a project, nothing's out in the wild, no one's going to know who they are. So that's kind of where you are standing. You guys are standing. So you're mostly speaking to who you are, right? You're not speaking to your role, your job. You're literally speaking to who you are, because right now, for one thing, so Solomon has to go out there and prove his weight, right? And so now you three have already shown that, hey, you know what? I'm in the Central Valley. I did my due. I mean, the UC came here, offered an opportunity. I did it. So therefore, I'm part of this gap. I'm filling this gap, right? This is kind of what you're speaking to. You're speaking on who you are, like literally, right?
Yeah, so part of that goes into like you have to the more you know, the more they can pay you, right? In Merced, for some reason, at least in UC Merced, they like hiring people from distant countries and counties. But like Theo was saying, there's capable people here. Armand is a native, so is Ramiro, and I consider myself a native or a local to the Merced community. So with along with your education, your bachelor's, or if you go on to higher degrees, along with that, the project-based learning goes a long way. Like I said, the more you know, then you could go in at a higher rate than if you just know if all you do is go to class, then you're just average. your average compared to probably most of the people that are graduating. I think UC Merced has could easily support organizations like the Q Project more. For some of the times that Armand and Ramiro said that they have pulled funding, some of those times it wasn't too easy. Some of the times, even when I pulled some funding, one time I showed up and they pretty much said, "Oh, you can't say anything. Come to the next meeting." But I went to the next meeting and we presented. I think no, it was another guy, another alumni. But we pretty much sometimes they may not want to give you the money, but you have to go out there and fight for it. I mean, like they were saying, it's your guys' money. This money comes from the student fee, so it's literally your money. You're paying with your tuition and fees. It's all part of that. So like the thing that I found difficult, and I still find it difficult, if we had like a physical location, I think that would help out not only the Q Project but all the other clubs also, because we have to pretty much carry. I had to carry a box last week full of drones and a bunch of stuff to the library, and then we were finished with it, and then now I got to take it back home, and you know, it's and that's only like part of the stuff. I didn't even bring everything that we needed. So for example, we're probably going to meet tomorrow. I might need some help carrying some stuff because it's just so much stuff. If we had some sort of physical location where we could even just store some plastic tables, I don't care. Just it would help us out. It would facilitate a lot of things where we could store the stuff. Otherwise, we gotta set up shop and take it down, and that just adds up. You know, the more you do it.
On that note, Jesus, you hit the nail on the head for one point, because ever since the beginning, I have been asking for space. I said, "Hey, can you just give me a closet? I'll throw the stuff in the closet." And it's for some reason the culture here is that if it's not earmarked and put aside for you 10 years ago, you're not going to get it now. And when I talked to Charles Neese about the makerspace that they built for the professors, he said, nope, that's been earmarked for the professors, even though I know from inside information that it's not being used. And it's like there's space on this campus that isn't being used. But yet at the same time, I look at universities like MIT that have what they call the media lab. And it's weird how that came about. It was literally about media in the beginning, right? But now they do literally everything in the media lab. The Mindstorms Legos came out of there. A number of things that you see in society came out of the media lab. So yes, that's a good point right there. But yet at the same time, yes, everything you said is one of the areas that needs to be altered in some fashion. But yeah, go for it.
That sorry, I just wanted to add something. That tech space that Theo's talking about, where they have hardware that they're supposedly using it, that was something that I was referring to with the 3D printers. You guys remember, right? The 3D printers, but they have it, but we can't use it. That's why we have to get our own and stuff. So
I actually, to step in, there's actually a new location in the 2020 project. It's actually a makerspace. It is huge. Matter of fact, I don't want to tell on anyone, but I know they have a metal 3D printer over there. And like I said, I got some inside information. The other one that you're referring to is the prototyping lab. And yes, it took some doing to get use of those 3D printers. But one of the ways we were able to use it is because like Jesus worked in the prototyping lab. So he would do our 3D printing. And I talked to, I forgot his name, Sal over there. He said, yeah, okay. I get it. I see what you're doing, because I was going to go to the dean and say, hey, what are you doing? You and he said, okay, we'll work with you, but maybe if you bring us filament, we could just 3D print it. And so that's what we did. We would supply them with filament and they would 3D print for us. and then Jesus was allowed to work with us. But when senior projects came around, we had to back out. But otherwise, it worked out. And as things ramped up in the queue, we started getting our own 3D printers and stuff like that. But at the same time, the problem was that the responsibility was for you guys to hold on to this stuff. And it was like, wait a minute, this is crazy. This is, but we just kept pushing. I mean, it's like, I didn't want to slow you all down and say, well, if you want to keep it at your house, go for it. Don't worry about it. Because otherwise, not even in my lab, there was no space. We didn't have a closet. Every corner was used, but there are space on campus that maybe the social scientists, I mean, I've seen empty rooms. We were going to have the supercomputer at Castle move to the SSM building into the IT room that was not being used. It was empty. The challenge there is that that supercomputer was a Silicon Graphics machine that was built back in 2006. It was antiquated, but it still worked. And so the challenge was that between 2006 and 2013, when I found out about it, Silicon Graphics, SGI now, went bankrupt, and that paradigm went away. And so I actually called. It was a surprising thing. I was actually able to talk to a technician that fixed those machines. And I told him that, hey, I got one of your machines over here. He said, oh, wow, that's a good machine. That was a machine that was awesome in its heyday, but now it's a big brick, used as a paperweight. And so what stopped that project was that they said, well, if you get support from us, you would have to pay for it. And I said, wait, we can't pay for support to get this machine up and running. And it's support like getting the operating system to work on this antiquated machine. Like, hey, what button should we push, or what command should we? They were going to charge us for that. I think it was like $250 an hour. And I said, wait, and then I just squashed it. And then we stopped pursuing that. And then that's when we started moving in different directions, and then that IT lab, the IT room may be being used now because MCS is in the building, but that's kind of a heads up on what's really going on.
Bureaucracy is definitely something you have to, you're definitely going to collide here, definitely at UC Merced, especially at other colleges as well. Of course, it's not specific to UC Merced. You also have to fight for your projects. One of my big projects was cybersecurity workshops, where I would go online, or it was during COVID mostly, where I would learn a topic on cybersecurity each week. And then the Thursday night, I would go online, have a live Zoom call just like this, and I would teach people what I learned. I would have a presentation. Sometimes there would be proof of concepts. Sometimes people can actually do some hands-on activities. And from there, I took this project to Charles Neese, right? And just overall UC Merced leadership. And after like months of discussion back and forth, we accomplished two things. And like, I think it was 6 months around time. We accomplished two things. One, we got funding so that we can actually get hardware for cyber, because most of my cyber projects were software based, but since we got the funding, we were able to make it hardware based, right? And this funding didn't come from any regular student organization. This came directly from Charles Neese, the chancellor, vice chancellor, right? Vice chancellor. And the second thing we accomplished, we actually got our workshop series to be published on the IT website. If you go itucmerced.edu and look at some of their cybersecurity programs, you'll see our name, Q Project Cybersecurity Workshop Series, right? And so if I didn't fight for it, if I didn't fight for funding, if I didn't go through that entire, probably I must have written like hundreds of emails and had maybe like 5 meetings throughout 6 months, I wouldn't have achieved that. And this experience, you probably think it's probably not worth it, but definitely it's worth it for multiple reasons. Mostly just one reason that I talked about before, the experience. You get the experience to write emails, you get experience to talk to people, you get experience to fight for your stuff. And guess where you can use these experiences? Yes. Interviews, yes. And I use those same experiences to get my Amazon job, right? I'm sure Ramiro used his experiences to get his job. And just everywhere else, like Fang, wherever you want. Your dream company, you can get it. And that's what you have to do is fight for your project, get project experience, network. I know it's a lot. We were probably up here talking, saying, oh, we did all this cool stuff right here. But when I was in my first year or second year, I was exactly like you. I didn't have any project under my belt. It's scary looking at all these people. Oh, these guys are from Amazon. Wow, I don't think I could do all this projects. But just start small and just jump right into it. The reason I started the cybersecurity workshop series, I didn't start with the mindset that I was going to get funding. I started because I was passionate about it. I didn't really need funding until later on. So that's definitely something that drove me, that I knew what my passion was, and I was able to take that knowledge and apply it to like any jobs I actually went online and applied for. All right. I think Ramiro has something to say.
So if you want to distinguish yourself, then UC Merced is the place to be. So if you go to other universities, for example, if you want to go to Stanford or other UCs, like they'll eat your lunch, because like if you want to work on a drones project, someone already did it, you know. If you want to build a tech space, they already have that, you know. If you want to build battery technology, someone's already working on that. Like it's really hard to become a leader there. It's a lot more challenging. And that could be good, right? But right here, anytime you do something, you distinguish yourself. For example, I graduated May 2020 when the pandemic started, and I was the only Merced native computer science engineering major to graduate for that spring 2020. So that I distinguished myself immediately, you know, like I was the only one who graduated who is a Merced native, because UC Merced was not built for Merced. So I could talk about that. I brought that up in my interview. I told them, hey, this is how I distinguished myself. Like, you know, UC Merced was not built for Merced. But I accomplished that. Like I broke that barrier. When I was working on funding any project that I worked on, when I worked on cyber, when I worked on battery technology, is for the first time. No one has ever done it, like not at UC Merced. And so anything you do will have high impact, because UC Merced is part of the University of California system. You know, UC Merced is not going to go anywhere. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 100 years from now, it's still going to be here, you know, unless the United States breaks apart or something. But whatever you do is going to stick around for a very long time, you know. Like I was one of the first people to found cybersecurity here at UC Merced. Now cybersecurity is growing. But if I were to go to an interview, I'd be able to talk about how I was one of the first. Nobody else was doing it. In fact, the first time that I started, people got concerned, you know, because they're talking about, oh, you're doing some black hat hacking, you know, stuff like hacking. People are scared of that.
Right,
like,
right.
People think it's scary. So one of my classmates, he submitted a report. I didn't even know this guy. He was just a classmate. He submitted a report to the UC Merced IT or something. And it told him, hey, should we be doing this at UC Merced? Like that guy doesn't know me. He also doesn't know what my cyber project is about. My cyber project is about teaching people how to protect yourself. And also it's about ethical hacking, you know. My idea is not, I don't want you to use this for evil. Like when you come to my workshop, I will tell you, educational purposes, yes, you can go and use it for evil, but this is not the purpose. And so that guy had never been to my workshop. He submitted a report, and then so I heard about it and I was confused. I was like, my own classmate put barriers on me, you know. It doesn't make sense. Like it's like he's not the only person who could be doing cool stuff. Like I can do it too. Like and when I was doing cyber, I was the first, you know. And so people were critical about, people were concerned, and because they didn't understand it, you know. But as you look, security is huge and it's going to keep growing. Like I don't know, like security, if you're good in security, the unemployment rate is 0%. So you'll be pretty good off. Like if you need a job, then security could be your backup plan, you know? Anything you work on, if you're a mechanical engineer, you're gonna be working on projects that require you to have a security mindset. I work on an MMORPG and it's pretty massive and there's a lot of moving parts and it's like, I'm still learning the project as I go. And with my security mindset, I was able to identify issues, you know, before they occur. And so that's big impact because, you know, this is deployed to millions of players. So anytime I find an issue, I'm pretty much making the organization look better. So yeah, if you want to distinguish yourself, then UC Merced is a place to be. And that's the reason why I chose Amazon Games. Amazon Games is a relatively small organization, you know. Yes, we have a lot of funding, but we're also growing. And as they grow, I grow, you know. Like I was gonna be working on different kinds of projects. You know, I'm working on a new world right now, and I don't know what other projects I'm gonna work on later. And there's always something to do. And so anytime I do something, if I were to go to a different company, they would know about it. You know, they would know about Amazon. They would know about whatever project, New World, or whatever project I work on. Same with UC Merced. If you work on a project, people are gonna know about it. And the way you gonna get that out there is by making huge impact. And then you eventually UC Merced, you're gonna hear it in the news, you know? Like, and yeah, I think UC Merced is a place to be. I know if I was a other university, I don't know how it would be, but I think they would eat my lunch because like they have like hundreds of years of experience established. Yeah.
I'm gonna make this super quick. I know we're almost out of time. What he said was perfect. All good. At UC Merced, you have an opportunity here, right? Don't waste it. Seize the day. Carpe diem.
All right, so yeah, we're approaching 9 o'clock. If you're looking at the agenda, you can probably see we didn't get to the news talk, current events, but I feel like we already kind of went into that discussion with the questions we had here in the chat. So thank you for that. And if anyone has any more questions here on Zoom, feel free to ask, or anyone out in the crowd, do you have any questions? I think we're pretty good. Yeah. And anyone here on Zoom, I'll put my email in the chat. Feel free to get in touch with me. Yeah, so anytime you want to talk to me, just send me an email and I can talk with you about what you want to know, if it's about the Q project or about anything else. So yeah, I think that concludes our leadership conference. Thank you all for coming, those on Zoom and those here in person. And we look to keep doing events. We may have one more big event planned for this semester, so stay tuned. And thank you.
Excellent. Have a good day.